Hello friends, today is my new topic entity constraints. What are entity constraints in database? First, we need to understand the concept that goes behind to design the relational database. Think of a data model as a vocabulary or a collection of operations that help to design that particular database using a specific data model. So data model we will be using is relational database. So guys, if you put yourself in the place of a data analyst at Uber, a database at Uber has several tables which records various details such as on the rider, the driver, the vehicle use and transactions details. Each such table has been various related attributes which describe it in detail. Consider the rider table. You go through the values entered in a column that contains the fares for each ride. It would be right for you to expect that the fares can have a maximum of 4 digits. A fare more than even 5,000 would raise concern. This is definitely an outlier and needs to be replaced with the right value. Ensuring that you implement the right constant for the right attributes in a table can help you avoid such type of errors. So, relational data model, which is supported by loads of relational database products such as MySql, Microsoft SQL Server, DB2 and Oracle. All these are called relational database management system because they all know the relational data model. So we have to understand what is a relational data model if you have to work with relational database management system. See what is the element of vocabulary of relational data model. So first, data is organized in the form of tables and columns. This is very much similar to Excel. If you are familiar with all cells, rows and columns, here is the RDB. It is known as Relational Database Management System. So a table known as employee has lots of attributes with associated columns within it. So how we can explain? Constraints are the rules that are used in MySql to restrict the values that can be stored in the columns. So, constraints are rules that are used in MySql to restrict the values that can be stored in the columns of a database. This ensures the data integrity, which is nothing but the accuracy and consistency of the data stored in the database. So, if we have in database some tables and columns like we consider there is a table employee. So there in employee table different attributes are employee ID, employee name and employee age. So these all are the columns or attributes which can have in fact up to thousands of rows. The most basic unit of the information that is captured in RDBM is table. My relational database design does not end here. There is employee table, there is department table, which may have department ID, name, address, etc. So this is database design, but this is not the end of database design. What we also want to capture and convey is known as constant because we can't simply put the whatever the data where we want. Let us put some rules. These are known as constant. Generally, three kind of constants are there: entity constant, referential constant, and semantic constant. We need to understand all three before we get into the actual design. So, what is entity constant? What is entity constant? entity constants say that within a given table, whatever the restriction on the values of those attributes that you want to put. Example, in the employee table, attributes employee ID, age, name. So in employee ID, what we put restriction, that is employee ID should not be repeated. It should be unique. So what is uniqueness constant say? This constant is used for columns that need unique values. For example, employee ID should be unique in employee table. So employee name can be repeated, but employee ID for any particular employee is always similar. We can say that. So that particular constant is unique. So we can say that this is a uniqueness constant as far as this table is concerned. So what is the word noting here, that we should be very careful to choosing that which attribute is affected by choosing the constant. Employee name can have same value for 2 or more times. So employee ID is unique, but name is not unique. But if there are some table like product table, so what we can understand, there should be product ID should be unique, but product name also should be unique. So according to our requirement of that database, our table, our data, we put the constraint, whatever constraint we require. So in product table, product name is also unique. So according to your application, you have to decide whatever constraint you can have. In design, if you don't specify any constant, it means any value can take in any value. Any kind of value can be repeated and any kind of value can be there. If we are not putting uniqueness, like in the name of the employee table, employee ID is unique, but name is not unique. So we have to specify whatever we want, where we are want. So next one, null. Null value is acceptable where null value, this constant is used to determine the column that can have null values. For example, an employee may not specify their location. So, which means location column can have null values in employee table. Yes. Similarly, if we have unique values, we can also have some null values. Like if any employee joining in any organization, before joining we have everything, but employee ID is not there because there are some process after joining, then we generate employee ID. So in that case, null value should be there. And whatever I said, that repetition of null value is not the violation of null constant. I am telling you here, null value the repetition of null value is not the violation of the value of uniqueness. Means employee ID can have more than one unique null value. So it should be unique and should not take null. It is unique, but it can have more null values. If we go in product table, we understand product name. Product name should be unique, but product name should not be null. Otherwise, how we can represent there? So, in entity constant, there is a shortcut and there is a primary key. What is primary key? It has to be unique and cannot be null. So, it is more restricted and cannot be nulls. See guys, according to our data requirement, whatever we want to feed, we want to see in database, we just put our restriction. A value means employee ID can be unique, employee name cannot be unique, but in product table, employee name should be unique. Sorry, in product table, product name should be unique. So all these are requirements of the database, and we have to put some restriction for fetching the data, for reading, for analyzing, for analysis. Means whatever data we are feeding, whatever data we are analyzing, it should have some meaning. Note that there may be a situation where a company wants to store the records of its employees over multiple years. In this case, employee ID may not be unique, since an employee will have multiple rows storing details of multiple years. You will need a new column name year in the table. So in this case, a combination of employee ID and year a variable employee ID here can act as a composite primary key. So you have to understand that constraint are the restriction on the data. So we can fetch the data, we can analyze the data, we can read and go in depth of the data. So there are three constraints of entity constraint, three values: null value, primary key, and unique values of entity constraint. So I will move forward from here in next video. I hope you understood what is entity constraint, what is null value, unique value, and what is primary key. If you really like my video, please subscribe my channel, friends. Thank you. Thank you so much.